Next, let's talk about the news.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. from South America, and all the ships and clippers at sea. Let's go to press.
News. That little news jingle from Mark now. Mark, we're going to be spending several days with you at BGGCon. Very much looking forward to it. As we probably said before, Mark, Trey, and I designed LARPs together for Gen Con. We have for years and years and years. And it's always great hanging out with him. So we're looking forward to that. Jumping into the news, first thing we're going to talk about is there is sad news again. Actually, it's the second time in a month. Francis Tresham died earlier within the last month. And now Chad Jensen has died of cancer, we're sorry to say. Chad Jensen, you may know him as the designer of Combat Commander. It was a series of war games. There was a Combat Commander Europe, Combat Commander Pacific. Very good, very well-designed games. And he also designed one of the bellwether Euros of the last 10 years, one of those games that everybody talks about, a game that we here do not like, but we admire the design very much. This is Dominant Species.
We like it, just think we had one problem.
Yeah.
Very fixable, but it's a brilliant game.
Oh, absolutely. Totally agree. Anyway.
I would be very happy to have a game like that on my resume.
Oh, no question about it. Yeah. No question about it. Chad passed of cancer. He was not that old. It's a sad thing to have to report, but we have lost somebody that was one of the true great minds in the hobby, and from all accounts, a really great person. So, R.I.P. Chad Jensen. Next up, we're going to talk about. Well, there's no way to do the transition.
Yeah, it's a tough transition.
So we're going to do the transition. There is a game called Stronghold Undead. This is sort of a sequel to the game Stronghold. Stronghold was a 2009 release. It was the first game by Ignacy Trzewiczek. Ignacy Trzewiczek went on to do Imperial Settlers. He went on to do last week's review of Detective, was his game. A lot of games that this man has designed, a lot of very good games. But Stronghold is one of the first. Interesting game. What it is it's a two-player game that is asymmetric in the sense that one person is the attacker who is attacking a stronghold, and the other person is the defender, and they are trying to defend that stronghold.
I like that. I want to play that. That's cool.
It's very interesting. I
instantly want to play that.
I will say that having played the first edition of it, it had some balance issues. I heard that the 2015 version of it fixed a lot of those, and I hear that the undead version of that is even more fun. And guess what? Kickstarter has it right now. It has 8 days to go.
It's zombies trying to break into your house kind of thing?
Yes, zombies trying to break into the Citadel.
Armies of the Dead kind of thing, yeah.
It is, yeah.
That sounds fun.
It's if you like asymmetric games, if you like two-person head-to-head games, this might be the one for you. And Ignacy Trzewiczek is kind of on a roll. I mean, really, pretty much everything he's doing is turning out really, really well right now. So there's a very good chance this is going to be a game for you.
And that'll turn into one of those single-player games also that they'll make a computer as the other guy.
Sure, if there's a way to do that. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's easy to do in this one, because having played it, when you're the attacker, you're really trying to come up with a strategy to get past all of this stuff. When you're a defender, you are reacting to everything that's happening. Mm-hmm. You're marshaling resources. You're trying to remain flexible and keep your supply lines. Mm-hmm. There's a lot going into it. So it may be something that isn't so easy to do an AI for, but maybe it is. Next up, we have Restoration Games. They are the makers of Unmatched. We haven't really talked much about Unmatched, so let's get into it right now. Jake, do you know Unmatched?
I think I do.
Yeah, that is
It's the one with
the game you wanted to review.
Yeah,
for this
the IPs
week.
Playing against each other.
Correct.
Yeah, that's
yes.
the one I've been drawn to since I heard about it on the pod. I don't know how many episodes ago.
Unmatched Battle of Legends. So
yeah, it sounds dope.
Rob Davio and a couple other designers designed this game. Rob Davio designed the earlier Star Wars Epic Duels. Sure. This is basically a evolution of Star Wars Epic Duels. Star Wars Epic Duels had dice. This has no dice. This has card sets for each player. It is a short 20 to 40-minute skirmish game where each person picks a legend. You can pick in the original set. You can pick Medusa. You can pick King Arthur. You can pick Sinbad. Or you can pick Alice from Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
Interesting thing about it is that it has that really interesting combination of each character has their own deck of cards, which means they have their own strategy. They have their own minion, which with their own hit points, et cetera, et cetera. It's fairly strategic for a 20-minute game. It's really, you're always trying to figure out what's the right balance, right? How heavy is it? How crunchy is it? How brain burnery is it versus how much light and fun and how much does it move? And this game seems to hit a pretty good balance of those two things.
Is it one-on-one? You choose one character,
Yes, sir.
or you have a team versus? Got it.
One-on-one.
Which is probably why it hasn't made it to the table in our gaming group. Is that we don't do two-player games very often.
Exactly.
I would like to try it though.
We should.
I don't know.
We actually have two. We have the new Marvel card game as well that we have to review. So we have a couple.
That's unmatched too, or you're saying that just two-player? That's not an unmatched, is it?
No, it's not unmatched. No, it's not. But the news today is that unmatched Cobble and Fog is going to be coming out in 2020, in the second quarter 2020, sometime between April and summertime, which may slip. Sometimes these things slip. But Cobble and Fog looks interesting. It looks like you're going to be able to play the Invisible Man. You're going to be able to play Dracula. You're going to be able to play Jekyll and Hyde. You're going to be able to play Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Essentially what they've done is they used to have the license to Star Wars. They lost that. And they said, well, guess what? We're going to improve this game, and then we're going to release it
public
with
domain,
public
baby.
domain characters. Exactly. Everyone that's in the public domain.
Sure.
I will say, as a side note, the Conan Doyle estate claims that Sherlock Holmes is not public domain.
Really?
Yes. There's a huge battle over that
That's
right
super
now.
Interesting to me.
The understanding is that their case will not hold up. That they are asserting
too
it.
Long.
They're
Too long.
They're asserting
right?
it, but they won't. Well, it's not that. What it is that there are a couple Sherlock Holmes stories that fit the definition of not in the public domain, but everything else that was written for Sherlock Holmes is in the public domain, and they're trying to make an argument that because there's a couple stories that fit one category, that everything has to go in there. And the people that we've had this conversation in the movie business a few times. Most people in the movie business, they're very risk adverse. So what they generally do is they pay the Conan Doyle estate to use the property, but they do acknowledge that probably push came to shove, they would win the suit. That it probably is public domain.
Well, the movie business doesn't want things going into the public domain. I mean,
Right, of course.
True.
Blame Disney. I mean, Disney's going to keep their characters out of the public domain as long as they possibly can.
Trey's views do not speak for my own personal views. I would just like to say that right now. I love Disney. I think what Disney does is...
I just signed up
You
for
hear the fear in your voice? Wow.
their new channel. I just started paying $6 a month for Disney.
Am I saying this because I am developing a Disney-related property? No, I am not saying because of that. It's because of my true, long, and abiding love of the Walt Disney Company and Walt Disney Studios.
So did Mandalorian made you go and buy Disney Plus, or what did you? Or you just?
I mean,
come on.
that plus I have a 5-year-old, and now I can watch all those movies.
Oh, okay.
Honestly,
5-year-old.
that really was big.
Okay, yeah.
Have you seen the first two of Mandalorian?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got to figure out who I'm going to mooch off of.
You can have mine. I'll share.
You give me your login.
Yeah,
That's where, again, does not speak for
Not
the
even a
podcast.
Not only do you not speak for me, but I just want to make you aware that what you're doing on a public airwave, you're committing a crime.
No.
right
I
in
would
front of
never
you.
do this.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
When I said mooch, I meant come over and spend time with a
Talking
friend.
about a crime is not committing a crime.
Yes, it is.
No. Hey, Trey, you want to rob a bank? That's not committing a crime.
Are we back to the Sideshow Bob? No award for attempted chemistry.
We're going to save this for when Dimitri is on the podcast. When Dimitri's on, he will go over. Dimitri, just when you're listening to this, just write this down.
He's already.
And
Yeah, we're
we'll
gonna be
have-
here
For all the
Dimitri.
people listening
A long
in
rebuttal.
that are really caring, you cannot have my wink password.
Anyway, unmatched. Good game. Very
Good
interesting
game. Can't
game.
wait to try it.
And there is Cobble and Fog, which to me, Invisible Man, Jekyll and Hyde, Dracula, and Sherlock Holmes, that sounds that sounds more fun than Sinbad, Medusa.
I thought there was going to be like
and
Bruce
King Arthur.
Lee. And
That's a different one.
That's
they
a
have
different
it.
one.
They have that too.
They have that one too. Matt was telling me about
They're
that.
coming out with more and more and more. Interesting note. We're moving into another era. Turns out that Alexa now can teach you how to play Ticket to Ride. You can say, hey, Alexa, launch Ticket to Ride, or launch Ticket to Ride Europe, 2 versions of Ticket to Ride. And not only will it teach you how to play, but it can be one of the players in the game, or it can simply keep score for you. You can say green builds El Paso to Arkansas or whatever, right? And it will keep track of that, keep track of your points, and keep track of what the score of everybody is.
Okay, so how many steps from that to Ender going into the dream game are we? Because it really doesn't feel like very far.
I think we're still pretty far from Ender, but not that far, really.
Mean,
yeah,
geez,
it's getting there.
That's spooky to me. Sorry.
It's getting there.
Love computers, but whoa.
Alexa, do a Game Brain podcast on teaching games.
By the way, I do apologize to everybody whose Alexas are going off right now.
Oh, wow. I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah. You're all doing
Absolutely.
that.
Alexa, call mom.
Alexa, order Game Brain premium content. We don't have Game Brain premium content.
No, but call your mother.
But if we did, that's a good move. Anyway, haven't tried it yet. I kind of want to try it. I want to see how Alexa is as a teacher. Teaching games is an art.
You have that in your house and you use it on a regular?
No,
me neither.
No, I don't want. No. I don't like an active microphone in my house.
Other than your iPhone, you mean?
Yeah, no, I guess that is true.
I have no secrets, luckily, because otherwise,
I've got a Huawei phone, so I'm feeling very safe.
Interesting.
Yeah, okay. Apple is better about privacy, I believe, to some degree. Next up, let us talk about South Park. South Park did an episode last week called Board Girls. Now, we've already said that they have had some episodes where you look in the background and you can see board games on their shelf that were, they had Doom, they had Gaslands. This one went crazy. They went all out.
I thought of you when I watched it, actually.
Oh, my God.
I was literally like, I bet you he has all those.
Yes.
I bet you he has every single one.
Almost all of them. I'm like, oh, my God. So they mentioned Board Game Geek. They mentioned the Dice Tower. They mentioned Game Night, which is a Let's Play channel. They mentioned Tom Vassell, the creator of Dice Tower, Rodney Smith, Becca Scott. They mentioned Vidal Lacerda. Okay, they mention Lacerda in here. And Uwe Rosenberg. By the way, our first debate between Matt and I was a debate between exactly those two designers.
That was a heated debate.
They also mentioned Dungeons & Dragons, Nemo's War, the one-player game that just came out that we were talking about with Matt. Escape Plan, a Vidal Lacerda game, Legion, Blood and Plunder, Endeavor, Age of Sail, Nemesis, Fury of Dracula, Star Trek Ascendancy. It goes on and on and on. They went nuts. They were doing a great thing. They were advertising this hobby to their huge base.
No, once it's been on South Park, then it's like a real thing.
Or does this mean that South Park's finally over? This is it.
Right, was it.
This is the Fonzie jumping the shark moment.
That's it.
Don't do that. Why you gotta do that?
For me, the pinnacle was the WoW episode.
This may not be
for me. I was like, and we're good.
This may not be the most positive Game Brain podcast ever.
I'm
this
feeling
particular
positive.
one. Great.
I'm bringing the positivity.
I'm very positive. Jake, you and I are going to have to counter Trey. Okay, we just got to throw out those positive vibes.
I was certainly not saying anything.
No. I know
for
you
reals
were.
against South Park.
No,
guys, come on.
In other news, Gloomhaven has an expansion coming out, Jaws of the Lion. This is going to be a new mass market Gloomhaven game. It's going to come out in the third quarter of next year. And Jaws of the Lion refers to a specific mercenary group based out of the Sleeping Lion naturally. And the players will be taking part as characters in that mercenary group. They're also going to introduce you to a fourth member of the Jaws, a human called the Void Warren. And there's a cool artwork of that you can see at cephalofair.com. I highly recommend you check it out. Looks really good. If you love Gloomhaven, how are you not going to be getting this? You're going to be getting. We know what you're going to do. We know you're going to be getting this. Tim Fowers, who Trey is going to be hanging out with in just a day, I think.
Under 24 hours, man.
Tim Fowers has a new game out that got a absolute rave. Oh, sorry about that. Got an absolute rave from No Pun Included, a review that we like very much. Sabotage is their game. Sabotage.
Oh, I like that one.
You like Sabotage?
Is that the one with the water coming down the...
Oh, Barrage.
Barrage.
You're thinking of. No. Sabotage is a new game, that we have not gotten yet. So what they compare Sabotage to, and I think rightly, is Captain Sonar. If you've never played Captain Sonar, it is best at 8 players, 4 people on one side of the table, 4 people on the other side of the table, huge screen.
Trey watching from a safe distance.
Trey not even showing up.
This is the submarine
thing?
I tried this one. So
yes.
It's nerve-wracking. I hated it.
You and Trey are in absolute agreement.
I love you, man.
That was I Love You Too.
Trey.
No, that for me was just when it was over.
Trey
I was
was
just like,
shaking.
oh, thank God. Like I never want to do that again.
Sabotage might not be a game for you
probably
then.
not.
Now, though it is more of a game than that is. What that essentially is it's 4-player per side. What's the game? Battleship.
Battleship, yeah.
Battleship, very much.
Yeah, it is.
Sabotage is a little bit different. 4 people are playing spies. 2 people are playing spies. The other 2 people are playing supervillains. The supervillains are trying to find and capture and kill the spies. The spies are trying to disarm the global destruction weapons in time. You are...
Sounds like Mark Nell's game that he's... Mark Nell's working on a game, too.
Yeah, Mark Nell's working on a game, so...
Sounds a little like it.
Mark, you're going to have to check out Sabotage. We're going to try,
Mark Nell,
we're gonna
check out
try and get
Sabotage.
ourselves a copy of it, and we're going to see where it's at, because it is hidden movement. It has a lot of things that are very...
Does it have that
sound like what Mark was talking
element
about.
of the other one? Where you're like, run, hurry,
No, it is not real time. It is not
Okay,
real
'cause
time.
that-
Do I have
Which
to draw? Do I have to draw a line in between 2 narrow lines with
Yeah,
my
right.
shaking hands?
Yeah.
The 2 of you both have a problem with real time games and
Yes.
time pressure.
Correct.
So I get that. This game does not have that. What this game does have is programmable actions where you're going to be programming you're going to roll 4 dice, and whatever those numbers are, you're going to call out those numbers, and every other player has to use those numbers. So if you have a number that is 1 through 4 on the die, you can use that for movement. You can use that for various
That's
actions,
cool.
right?
I
If
don't
you
mind
have
that.
5 or 6, a 5 or 6 on the die, you cannot use for movement, but you can use it to disarm a bomb, or you can use it to attack a spy
Right.
and things
That's
like
clever.
that. So you're trying to figure out where the spies are. You're trying to figure out what's going on. You're working together with a partner on your side of the map so that you can see what's going on.
Okay.
It sounds really good. I just have to say, Tim Fowers has not. I don't think he's made a game I don't like yet. I honestly cannot think of a game that I do not truly like that he has made. So I'll check out anything that he's got, and I'm really looking forward to it. Next up, the New York Times, ever on the pulse of America, did an opinion article this year called "Why the Cool Kids Are Playing Dungeons and Dragons." It is by Annalee Newitz. She is a science journalist and a novelist, and she wrote
She knew to Earth.
She wrote a little paean about how Stranger Things has changed the metric, and now cool people are playing D&D, and that sales are up 30% and all this sort of stuff. And I feel like she should have researched ahead and saw that there have been numerous articles about exactly the same trend that have been going on for a while. It's a great thing in the hobby. Listen, I don't mind the New York Times getting in on this. I don't mind more people talking about the fact that our hobbies, the hobbies of tabletop role-playing and tabletop board gaming, are both picking up in a big way and kind of catching a breeze at their back, right? They're being carried into the popular imagination. They're no longer so niche, no longer something that, it used to be that you would say, I play these games, and people would say, I don't know what that is. Then after a while, they'd say, oh, like Settlers of Catan, which was an improvement. Nowadays, they're saying, oh, really? Is it more like Gloomhaven, or is it more like Concordia or whatever? They probably wouldn't say Concordia, but they would say something, right? They would have a vocabulary. The people are getting more exposed to these various games. I think it's a great thing. I'm just really, really happy that, it's always nice to find something that you love, to find out that it's the sort of niche group, and then to see it blossom and to see it grow and to see it expand. And what I'm really happy with is that most board gamers are not protective of their community to the degree that they're exclusionary, right? That they're happy to let.
No, if anything, I think they would champion it.
Yeah. We're somewhat evangelistic, if I can use that term.
Exactly right. Yeah.
To get more people into it, which is pretty great. And last but not least, this is tangentially game related, so let's talk about it. Survivor. Many seasons of Survivor. There was a controversy on that. It is a game, and it is a game that it's real life.
Is it though? Is it a game?
It definitely is.
Is it?
If Avalon is a game, then it is a game.
No, I don't know. I think it's a TV show.
Well, it's obviously a TV show,
that's
but
supposed to look like
people
a game.
people play it as
What
a game.
happened,
Do
Tom?
they, though?
What is the news?
So there was a player. Let's call him Hansy McGropey Hands.
Okay.
And Hansy McGropey Hands was on camera. They've shown him many times.
McKenzie?
McKenzie, handsy got a hands, right? And there was a player that complained about it to the other players, complained about it to the producers.
Sure.
And then said, we need to get this guy off. I don't feel comfortable around him. I don't. Two other women were in agreement that was really, really bad, and then proceeded to play the game and vote her off. So it's a problem. The problem is
as
that
of this recording, Hansi McCants is still on the show?
As far as I know, yes, he is still on the show. He was.
This is all recorded probably months ago. Blah blah blah.
He was given. No, yeah, it was. He was given an opportunity in tribal council to make a big apology, to say, "I am so sorry. This is not okay. That if anybody feels that way, obviously, I believe what they're saying. I did not mean to do any of this, and so on and so forth." The problem is that when you come to a producer and you say there is sexual harassment going on, and you're in a social game where people are manipulative of other people, you have to take that seriously. You have to do something about it, because if you don't, you're opening that up to becoming a gameplay element.
I agree with that if we could assume that all of the contestants, and I'm doing little air quotes, you can't see it, but with my fingers, have agency, which I do not believe they do. So they
definitely do.
I could very easily make an argument that says every single thing that every single one of those people is doing, they're being told to do by the people they're complaining to. And really, what are we talking about?
No,
it's just television.
Are you saying that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself?
I'm definitely not saying that.
Look, we know that reality television has very little reality to it. We know that these are constructed. These are constructed narratives, but
100% constructed.
But
I don't think it is.
But no.
I believe it.
In Survivor, it is not.
You need the happy accidents. You need the rant. Like if you scripted it would be boring.
It is boring.
No. Jake, here's the deal. The 21 scandal. Do you remember the 21 scandal?
No,
there was the movie quiz show.
We're not that old.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember the movie?
We're old. We're not that old.
I remember and I love that movie, but I wasn't alive when that happened.
That was about a game show that people invested themselves in, and then they found out that it was rigged.
Right.
And it nearly brought down the network. It caused huge problems. A game show in which you can win $1 million, those producers will urge people to repeat what they said earlier so they can get it on camera. They will do all that kind of stuff, but they are not going to put their finger on any kind of scale that is going to affect who survives and who doesn't survive. They have to be super careful about that.
The other side of that coin, then. I very easily believe they would and do, and that's not even a problem for me, because it's entertainment.
I think that they influence things, but I don't believe this is.
I think it would be silly to think that if they did influence, why wouldn't they control it completely?
There have been a few accusations over the seasons that there was some skullduggery and that they were pushing somebody.
I'm not even judging them for doing it,
or
by
pushing
the way.
something.
Whatever makes the best TV you want to make. But
look, this is not
the whole thing.
This is not playing out.
Okay, but I just don't think scripting it is going to be the most interesting thing.
Yeah,
I think actually having the impromptu stuff of actual conflict is what's actually going to make the show. You got to create that space for it to happen.
The formula is clear. The formula is get together.
Cast awful people.
That's right. That's right. So cast 18 to 20 borderline sociopaths.
That agency, then
starve them to death.
Sure.
Watch them get at each other's throats.
Sure.
And
other
see what
people's
happens.
suffering has always been good entertainment. We know that. As far back as Colosseum killing and all that. But what is the ethical situation? Assuming they do have agency, that they metagamed the game.
They definitely do. Well, no, the agency. What it is here's the problem. The problem is that you have a credible visual, something you can see, report of sexual harassment. You have somebody saying, "I do not like to be touched that way. Please don't touch me that way."
Was that actually aired?
Yes.
Wasn't that irresponsible then of the showrunner to air such a thing?
Why? It happened. So you're saying the show should hide that fact?
I don't think they should hide it, but if it's part of some kind of investigation.
He's advocating for a cover-up. Look at that. I wouldn't have thought that from Jay.
Well, here's the thing. I think the whole thing is scripted anyway. Okay. But I'm trying to see it from your point of view of if it's real,
Okay. So you don't believe women?
Well,
Okay. Jake doesn't believe women.
it
so
would
we got
probably be
that.
essential because it explains what happened at tribal council. Like if they had cut all that stuff out and then she gets.
Then the story wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, but there's also
Which
like
lends
this
me
probably is
back
going to blend.
towards-
This will be huge ratings, right?
something-
like
Which,
this
again,
is
lends
this is
back
not bad
towards-
publicity.
Something rare happened
Yeah.
on the show. Something rare happened on the show.
Okay.
They showed a conversation between a cast member
And a producer. So they broke that fourth wall.
They didn't show the producer,
done
but they
that
had
before.
the
They've
voice
done
of the
that
producer.
before.
Not often. Very
Yeah.
rarely.
Yeah.
They are reluctant to
You know,
do
there
that.
was a really funny Simpsons episode from this season that did this, where she wants to be on a fake version of the Amazing Place, I think they call it in The Simpsons.
Right.
And they get on and immediately get, knocked off. And they're making fun of this exact thing.
Jake, read the room here. What we're talking about here is that there is a woman that was claiming sexual harassment happened.
Okay.
She was not listened to.
Okay.
Her issue was not dealt with in a real way.
Okay.
And she was the one who paid the penalty for that. And
Okay.
the person who was the harasser not only lives to fight another day, but was given a soapbox on which to say, hey, I'm super sorry about this. I didn't mean anything like that. And other women who were supposed to be sympathetic turned on the reportee, the reporter, I should say, the
Right.
person who reported this. What it is it is ringing true to too many women right now that this is exactly what happens in real life all the time. That women are reporting sexual harassment, that the harassers are getting away scot-free. And that the women that have reported the harassment are the ones that see the initial and early punishment for having reported it.
Oh, I have no doubt that is happening all the
Sure.
time in real life.
Yeah. So the question is, and I'm glad that the conversation is erupting around this. I'm glad that the conversation is coming out because in a social deduction game, which essentially is what this is, right? I mean, that's what Survivor is. Survivor is trying to figure out who are my allies and who are my enemies and what can I do. The moment you have real world problems that come into that thing, it is so easy for that to be gamified. It is so easy for that to become a bargaining chip, for it to become a thing that can be used against people. And what is to stop people from doing that more and more often, which is why I think the producers have made a huge error. I think they should have dealt with this in a, not just let them play, but no, we're gonna stop. We're gonna press hold on this. We're gonna investigate, and we're going to deal with this. We're not gonna let the game continue until we have looked into this and dealt with the ramifications.
I actually totally agree with that. Do you think the errors of this program are ethically responsible in any way for essentially advertising a scenario which does occur all the time in real life
Sure.
as entertainment? It's not an educational program.
No.
It's not any kind of news. It's just here's something to watch for fun. This week's episode, a woman gets harassed and ends up being the victim. So, I mean, is that something that we should be putting on TV for everyone to see?
Well, I think that there are limits, right? If a Survivor cast member started beating the heck out of one of the fellow cast members in order to win the next vote, right? To break their leg so they can't compete in the next challenge, they'd be on a boat.
Right. Well, that probably wouldn't make it to the air. I mean, I don't think they'd show that.
Oh, no, they would because all of a sudden that person isn't there. They absolutely would. As a matter of fact, I believe something like that has happened in the past where they've had to remove a person for playing incorrectly.
I really have to suspend my disbelief to even have this conversation, to be honest, because I don't think it's real at all.
Paul should not go on Survivor. Like this is
Paul's trying to go on
what we're
Survivor.
talking about here. Metagame harder. Is that what's
A little bit. I think Paul would do. The problem is,
I think Paul would win.
No,
honestly.
Here's the issue. The issue is how do you deal with starvation? Because what it really comes down to, it really is. No, seriously. What you don't think about, you're
What are
thinking
you
about,
saying, Tom?
here's
What are
what
you
I would
saying?
do. No. I'm saying I don't know. I'm saying that.
you heard what he said?
I know what he's saying.
Look,
Paul heard
You're
what he
saying
said.
those of us with a few extra
No,
last
not
a bit
necessarily.
longer.
Not necessarily.
Without those burgers to keep us up.
I don't think that a 300-pound person on Survivor or a 100-pound
Paul is nowhere
person
near
on
300
Survivor.
pounds.
No. Paul's quite fit, actually.
I'm making an example. I'm saying that a 300-pound person on Survivor is starving just as much as a 120-pound person.
Sure. But a fat person's hungry.
You're starving.
Let's face it.
Paul should be here to defend himself.
Some people
I'm
can
praising him. He doesn't need defense from
I
me.
think some people can starve and still be decent
No,
people.
obviously you're
and
right.
some people
Yeah, yeah.
starve and they lose their darn minds.
like my son.
And that would be Paul.
I mean, if my kid misses like a snack, it's Jekyll and Hyde.
Oh, yeah.
He turns into a monster.
And by the way, at the age
Yeah.
your boy is, that's the way they are.
guess.
My daughter is still that way. She
feel like
is
I'm still crawling
very,
out of
very,
that hole.
very
I'm
affected
very
by
old.
food.
If I'm hungry, I could turn into a monster
Yeah.
myself. Yeah.
She'll be totally out of sorts.
Yep.
You give her an energy bar or something like that, and
Calories,
boom, everything's
sweet
totally
as a
fine.
daisy. Yep. Mhm.
Totally fine. Absolutely. I think that's the way they're wired at those ages, and that's fine.
It's almost been 10 years. Is it time for another weight loss challenge, Tom?
It probably is.
Yeah. Come January.
100% in for
Are we
that.
in?
Oh, yeah?
I would 1,000,000% be in on that.
Dude, okay, we'll do it. We did.
I'm
We did
so-
a,
8%?
Yeah.
so we will say that about 10 years ago, we did a weight loss challenge. We figured that the best way for gamers to lose weight is to make it a game.
Yeah.
And so we said we're going to lose 10% of our body weight in 3 months. 10% of our body weight in 3 months.
I could
and we were
hopefully
each
do
going to
that.
put in $200, $100, something like that.
Yeah, it was 200.
$200, yeah.
10%
$200
in a month.
each.
Wait, I got to think about
Not a
that.
month. No, you can't do it.
3
A month
months.
would be really unhealthy.
3 months.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say
No,
that's
3
really
months.
fast.
So 3%
Paul
a
will
month,
do
essentially.
10% in 2 weeks.
Yeah, right.
But that's not what it's supposed to be.
No.
The idea
I'm
is
in.
that,
I'm in for
and
that.
if you hit your mark, you don't owe the $200.
Right.
It's only the people that didn't,
Totally.
and their money is divided between them.
Totally. I love it. I'm in.
Out of the 10 people, I think you and I were the only ones to finish.
Both times.
Both times. Yeah, that's true.
First time we did it, it was who lost the most weight. And then I think we got near the end and we started to hedge.
Yeah.
And we made a winner's deal
I like
so that we didn't
percentage.
kill ourselves.
I was 1% ahead of you, and I was just like, I don't want to do this for the last 3 days.
Yeah.
And you were like, no, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And since then, we've just made it, if you make weight,
Correct.
you're part of the
You
prize
passed.
pool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm. I love it. I'm in.
Yeah, and Trey and I were the only two finishers
And it's
the
not
last
even,
two
it's
times
not
we
the
did it.
money, it's the social pressure.
Oh,
of-
absolutely.
Very much
Anyway,
so.
yeah.
Very much
Absolutely.
so. I think I'm up for it. All right.
I'm definitely up for it.
Well, that was game news.
Of a kind.
Obviously.